All Three Beards Media podcasts originate from the Gravitate Co-working Studio, sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. It is your co-host, Andrew Barber, with my co-host, Drew Shipley. Hawks Eye View back after a long holiday hiatus, shall we say. Hopefully you had a good one. If you're watching, Drew, what did you resolve to do on New Year's? Do you make resolutions?
So I made one last year, Andrew, since my future wife is standing right here next to me. I told her going into 2023 that I would read 3 books for the year.
Okay.
I did not open one in 2023.
Oh, boy.
So, I probably haven't made a resolution for, I don't know, at least a decade probably. Make small improvements over time, you know, whatever way I'm needing life to go for me at the time, type of deal. Not like a full year or a full like lifetime of resolution. So no, I really don't make many. Do you?
No, I don't really. I mean, I think kind of the typical ones that people think about, maybe make some healthier choices in my lifestyle, with food, and maybe try and exercise every once in a while. I really like to go on walks. I didn't do enough of that in 2023, so got to take advantage of the weather when it's good, and go on a few more walks. So, things like that. If you could make a resolution for anything Iowa Hawkeye related, what would your resolution be?
Name an offensive coordinator. Name anybody. I don't care if it's Steve Ferentz at this point. Like seriously, like I just want to know.
Yeah.
You know? That's where I would go with that, man, because the men's team got their first Big Ten win earlier in the week. The Iowa women are doing what we expected the Iowa women to do, up to number 3 in the AP poll. So, I don't know. As far as expectations for the men's team, right? Like, I don't know if I need like anything great to be resolved there. I mean, just hover around 500 in the Big Ten and see where the chips fall. It's a weak Big Ten, man. It really is. But there's a big opportunity tomorrow hosting Nebraska, coming off their number 1 Purdue win at home, right? So, yeah, that's how I feel about it, I guess. So, yeah, I need an offensive coordinator, and I needed him like a week ago.
Yeah. Well, Kirk did promise we wouldn't hear until the second or third week of January.
Here we are.
We're still there. So he's a man of his word. I'm getting anxious about that as well. My resolution for the Iowa Hawkeyes as a whole is to name Beth Getz permanent athletic director. That I feel like that should have been done yesterday. So I think going forward, she should be the athletic director. That I feel confident in her ability to lead the athletic program into the future. So
Sure.
I think that should have been done like way long ago too. Kind of like you feel about the offensive coordinator. I don't know what the red tape is with them having to take off the interim tag. Maybe they have to actually open the job up and do a search, quote unquote. But she's the right person for the job.
So let me ask you this, Andrew, since this is like the hot topic of college football, right? Nick Saban retiring all of a sudden yesterday. Like, does the second and third order effects you think have anything to do with potential hiring, right? Because Dan Lanning has reportedly turned down Alabama. The next guy on the list, from what I've heard, is Kalen DeBoer, which I think is going to end up being the hire eventually. Now you're talking Ryan Grubb. Is Washington going to make Ryan Grubb the head coach in place? Is Ryan Grubb going to be available? Like, who's Washington going to hire? Do you think like there's second and third order effects to what happened yesterday with Nick Saban abruptly retiring, for lack of a better phrase, I guess?
Yeah, I do. I think that is. I'm not going to go out on a wild limb and be like, Kirk knew Nick Saban was going to retire or anything like that.
Right.
I think Kirk was waiting on some NFL stuff to happen because there was some interest from some NFL positional coaches, maybe from some NFL guys. And I think he was waiting for the NFL season to wrap up and do some interviews that way. And this kind of just fell in his lap. So the Alabama thing is one thing, Nick Saban retiring kind of abruptly. And also another thing is Harbaugh to the NFL. Harbaugh's got his national championship. He may be thinking it's time for me to move on back to the NFL now that I've done basically everything I can do at Michigan. It's time to go back to the NFL. And that would set off yet another ripple effect. There's also been rumors of Kirby Smart going to the NFL. Now, I don't know if that'll happen. I think he's pretty content at Georgia, but the Falcons are looking for a head coach, and so naturally Kirby Smart's name is going to come up in that conversation. That doesn't mean he's going to take the job, but like you said, the Alabama thing will set off a chain effect because Kalen DeBoer probably going to be the guy now that Dan Lanning turned it down, or it could even be Dabo. I know that it's not very realistic because of Dabo's contract, but what I do think is realistic that if Alabama did hire Dabo, that Clemson could look at a guy like Paul Chryst in their search. So I don't know who the next Alabama coach is going to be, but whomever takes that Alabama job, whatever job that guy leaves, Paul Chryst could be in the running for that, which would in turn obviously affect the Iowa offensive coordinator search.
So let's set the over-under on 3.5 days of when Alabama announces their next head coach.
Yeah, under.
I think so too. I think it's going to be. I think 2 days is probably a good number. I think maybe tomorrow. I mean, he's announced it yesterday. And from all the national beats and all the people talking that actually have knowledge to the deal, right? Kalen DeBoer would take the job if offered.
Okay. The thing we don't know about that, I think he and Ryan Grubb get along pretty well. Would Ryan Grubb go and stay as offensive coordinator? Would he stay in Washington as head coach?
Wouldn't that be interesting? Because wasn't Ryan Grubb offered the Alabama offensive coordinator job last year?
Yeah, and he turned it down because he wanted to stay with his friend, Kalen DeBoer.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that would be quite something. Now, I think he has the goods to be a head coach, so he could stay at Washington conceivably if he wanted to. But Washington is turning everything over. Who knows if they're going to be relevant again?
To include turning over their conference to the Big Ten.
Right. And who knows what they're going to look like in the new Big Ten, and they're losing a lot of talent. It's not just a reloading scenario there in Washington. So he is from Iowa. I'm not going to say he's coming to Iowa, but does he give it more serious consideration? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, the longer I'm away personally, the longer I'm away from Iowa, the more I feel detached from Iowa. Right? Like my fandom is not going to change. Like I will always be Iowa Hawkeye, 100%. But like, I don't feel like I need to return and live there. I don't feel like I need to return and work there. You know, I I don't know. Like the longer you are away from home, the more content you are with where you're at or where you can go. Iowa's a small place, man. 3 million people. You know, there's that many people within like 50 miles of me in the circumference. So
Yeah.
I mean, definitely a big change in life. So I don't know. I'd say the longer that he's away from Iowa, from home, the less of a factor that may be in decision making. And like you said, like Kalen DeBoer is his friend, so like he I think he follows him to Alabama if that's the case. Honestly,
Yeah, could very well be. And who knows? You know, whenever Kirk maybe decides to hang it up, maybe he's a name that pops up as a potential replacement. I think that's a very plausible thing. I just don't know if he'll come as an offensive coordinator first.
that's another thing. That's another thing, Andrew. We're talking about Kirk Ferentz coming up on 69, right?
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer's got 3 decades of coaching left in him, probably. So
Yeah. And
so I mean,
he will probably do a good job at Alabama.
I mean, so the quicker road to head coaching, maybe in Iowa City, but what's the payoff?
Right. Kind of the same with taking the Washington job. But also, if you fix the Iowa offense, you become the hottest name in college football coaching immediately.
Okay, so say that happens, Andrew. Say Kalen DeBoer goes to Alabama. You're Ryan Grubb. Can you remove your Iowa fandom out of decision making into a rational decision of what you would do?
I think it's
Ryan Grubb.
I think it's either follow Kalen, probably number one. But I would probably give serious thought to staying and being the Washington head coach.
That's option C.
I think those are the 2 legit options for Ryan Grubb.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a mysterious third candidate, Power 5 head coach. I think I told you about that offline.
Is that Chip Kelly?
We don't know. We haven't received. It hasn't been turned down that it's Chip Kelly, but it hasn't been confirmed that it's Chip Kelly either. We may not know who that mysterious Power 5 head coach was until after someone is named.
I will tell you. I will tell you right now. Chip Kelly is not coming to Iowa City. I will bet the house on that.
If he does, you would absolutely lose it.
I would lose it.
Yeah,
I'd be super excited because if the fact that Kirk Ferentz actually hired that man, like, he would give full control to the offense to him. He has to, right? Like, Chip Kelly's not coming here to just be the face or be like the guy with the freaking headset. Like, he's calling the plays. He's running his offense.
Yeah, I agree.
He'll lose their minds.
I agree. Well, let's flip the script to guys who are coming back to Iowa, because there's a lot of them. And it's probably just easier to name the ones that aren't coming back. The big one, Cooper DeJean, decided to go to the NFL. And Eric All and Logan Lee are probably going to move on and try their hand at the NFL as well. Joe Evans is out of eligibility, so he cannot be back. But other than that, everybody is coming back. The biggest of which, the top 3 of which are both of the linebackers, Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson. I think that's huge. Otherwise, we were going to have to completely turn over at linebacker, which can be difficult. And Sebastian Castro coming back in the defensive backfield. But Jamari Harris, Quinn Schulte, it's essentially the defensive backfield that we saw in the bowl game minus Cooper DeJean, and for the last couple games without Cooper DeJean, which is pretty good. So I feel great about Iowa's defense specifically next year with everybody that's coming back.
Yeah, I'd say my glass is half full when it comes to the Iowa defense, right? Like, you're not used to saying that, right? Like, but I think the Iowa defense might be better next year than this year. without Cooper DeJean, and that's a bold statement. That's an absolutely bold statement. But I think it can be, and I think it will be.
Well, yeah, because not only do you have those guys coming back, you've got Xavier Nwankpa in his third year, so he'll ascend a bit more. Aaron Graves is probably going to ascend a bit more. Ethan Herkett was starting to come on at the end of the season. Like we had a lot of guys starting to blossom and bloom on top of the guys that we already knew about. So in the pre-NIL era, though, like none of this would have happened. So you can thank the swarm leader, Brad Heinrichs, for getting a lot of this done. And specifically the NIL era, it's as much about addition as it is retention. And they really focused on retaining players, which I think is a good move because you can't get a guy like Luke Lachey or Sebastian Castro or Jay Higgins or Nick Jackson, who we got out of the portal last year. You can't find that level of talent in the portal if you're Iowa.
100%. And I would say this, Andrew, since we're talking the offensive side of the ball now with Luke Lachey, I'm not sure he comes back if he doesn't get hurt. Like if he has a healthy 2023 season, he might be in the same boat as Cooper DeJean. You know, like
right.
no doubt you got to go to the draft, my man. Like, but now coming off, that devastating leg injury, like I think there is some upside to him coming back.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside to him coming back. He's going to be the focus, one of the top focuses in the passing game for sure.
Yeah.
So, on that note, couple things I think Iowa needs to attack in the portal. I think they need to find a backup quarterback who can push for the starting job, potentially. I love Cade McNamara, but we all know the health issues, and so I think we need I don't know if Marco Linus is quite ready, although he's probably the best backup option we have currently. I don't think he's quite ready. So I think you need a guy with maybe 2 years of eligibility remaining who has the potential to be a starter in the event that Cade can't go. So I think that's one thing. And then I think you need a big-bodied receiver and possibly an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think you get 3 guys in the portal and you call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, got to do something on offense for sure. What happened with the alleged visit that never happened from the Oregon transfer? Eventually turned Tulane. Like what? Like
he just decided
was that never going to happen? Like he never got on campus.
Was part of it was he was unsure because Iowa didn't have an offensive coordinator in place. I don't know really. I mean, Tulane is a good offense. If he goes there and he's the starter, he'll put up numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the thought process in Ty Thompson's head was I go to Tulane, I'll put up numbers because they have a good, solid offense. They don't play against a Power 5 schedule. And Power 5 teams will come calling next year, and then I'll have my pick of Power 5 offers next year.
Sure.
I think it is as simple as that.
Okay.
I don't think it says a lot about Iowa. I think it says more about he assessed the situation and said, well, no, I can go there, put up really good numbers, and then go somewhere else.
Sure. So, I mean, we're looking at top 10 defense coming back, right? Like, no doubt, top 10. We're talking about Cade McNamara, Luke Lachey coming back.
Yep.
So, to wrap up football, let's give a way too early prediction, knowing what we know now.
A way too early prediction, knowing of everybody that's coming back.
Yep, just 12-game record, period. Obviously, we're not running down the schedule, just off the top.
9-3.
9-3, exactly. That's where I'm at, too.
Yeah. Until I'm saying that not knowing who the offensive coordinator is. And I'm assuming that we don't get a quarterback onto the roster with baked into that 9-3. If we do those things I was talking about in the portal, my projection goes up to probably 11-1.
Sure. And when you look at it, Andrew, look at all the talent that the runner up is losing in Michael Penix in Washington, maybe their head coach. Like that
Entire coaching staff turnover potentially.
That Washington game in Kinnick looks a lot better, right?
Yeah.
UCLA on the road, right? Like
yeah,
they don't scare me, but we have Ohio State. Like so, I mean, the potential is there for sure.
mm-hmm.
Defensively speaking,
yeah,
gotta do something on offense, man. Gotta get this higher right.
Yeah, how can we put together an average offense in 2024? That's it. I'm not looking for elite. I'm just looking for average.
Yep. 100%.
And if we do that, 11-1 is very much in the cards.
100%.
So, okay. It's a lot. I feel a lot like where we were before this past season.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like we're in the exact same spot.
It's true.
And it can either go way up, depending on who the offensive coordinator is, whom we acquire, if Kirk Ferentz gives full control, or it can get worse because maybe the defense regresses a little bit, special teams regresses a little bit without Cooper DeJean, and we drop some games we're not supposed to, and we end up like 7-5. This team is
also potential for that.
yeah. So, but I think this team is a bowl-bound team, regardless of what happens on the offense. I think they're going to find a way to seven wins.
Yeah, that's the floor for sure. No doubt.
7-5 is the floor. 11-1 is the ceiling in my mind.
Yep. Okay.
And with the expanded playoffs, 11-1, probably gets you in that 12-team conversation.
If the 11 wins are where they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like their one win or their one loss is
it's Ohio State, and it looks somewhat competitive.
Right.
Yeah,
I would agree. If their one loss is Northwestern, like I'm not even sure if they're on the schedule. I don't remember.
Ooh.
Then you're talking something different.
Hey, I think Northwestern might be an ascending team because they just hired South Dakota State's offensive coordinator to be their offensive coordinator.
Okay.
I like that move for them.
Yeah.
Because their head coach is kind of a defensive guy, so he went and picked up the best offensive coordinator from the FCS ranks.
Okay.
And just said, I'm going to hire the best offensive coordinator from the FCS ranks. Because
that's worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has. So
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
Ryan Grubb.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I wanted Iowa to go after him actually, but they did not. So here we are. All right. Let's flip to my favorite subject to talk about right now in Iowa athletics, and that's just Caitlin Clark.
Oh, okay.
She's dominant.
She's okay, I suppose. I mean,
yeah, another triple-double against Purdue. I think she had a triple-double in the last game before that, too. I mean, I feel like it's a triple-double every night now. She's just... Did you see the behind-the-back no-look pass?
I did.
The shot that didn't count?
Yeah.
Right. Or it was invalid, as Scott Docterman said.
Oh, I saw that too. That made me cringe. Too soon, he said.
Yeah, too soon. Way too soon. But man, I don't know what else you can say. All I can say is it really stinks that Kansas State got that one in Carver because this team should be undefeated.
Yeah.
And rolling undefeated. And man, just tell me who in the Big Ten, I know we picked a couple of losses for them when we were doing our preseason preview, but Maryland doesn't look all that great. And there's a big one coming up this Saturday against Indiana. But Indiana hasn't looked all that great. Tell me where the losses are coming. for this Iowa women's team because it's hard to see it with the way they're playing, with the way the rest of the Big Ten looks.
I mean, just a year ago, Andrew, Maryland embarrassed Iowa out here in College Park, 15 minutes down the road. Albeit they will not have Diamond Miller this year, right? She was awesome. Mackenzie Holmes is still there at Indiana. I mean, yeah, they've been playing a whole bunch of no-doubter Big Ten games, like never a doubt, right? I see one more loss, and it might be between one of those two. But man, Caitlin Clark will not be denied this year. She just won't.
I feel like she won't. Yeah.
Gabby Marshall finally shooting better.
That's a huge key.
Oh, 100%, man. She was so cold in those first 15 games. So cold. It's coming around, knocking down multiple three-pointers a game now. Like we've been accustomed to, honestly. Wide open shots. Hannah Stolke, the development of her, like I said in our preseason preview of this, has been fantastic. Kate Martin is the player that Kate Martin's been her whole career. She's been great. And getting some minutes off the bench too, valuable minutes coming down. Maybe post Caitlin Clark. What are you going to do after she leaves? Right? Maybe turn into that Megan Gustafson team again with Stolke, Sharon. Those girls. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about the women's team right now. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and that's where we're at, man. Like things are looking great for the Iowa women. Absolutely.
If they continue like this, then I don't see a reason why they won't. They're getting a 1 seed.
Oh yeah, they're getting a 1 seed for sure. There's no doubt about that. Even with one or maybe even two more losses.
Yeah,
it'd be like 28-3 Big Ten champ. Like they're getting the 1 seed. That's happening.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
You can pencil that in.
Yeah. I can't wait to see Stolke versus Holmes on Saturday night.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's gonna be really awesome. I think Goodman might help out and defend Holmes a little bit too, but I think Stolke might start out on Holmes. And honestly, the key might be to have Stolke out there to try and run Holmes up and down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kind of tire her out and find an advantage that way. I love a Fulter. A Fulter has been a huge key for the team, as has Molly Davis. So you mentioned Gabby getting it right, but you've had like a Fulter take a little bit of a leap up and Molly Davis take a little bit of a step up in her game too.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of why this team looks the way that they do. Looks like a serious contender.
For sure.
That we weren't expecting. I haven't run the numbers, but it feels like Caitlin Clark's going to break the scoring record for women's college basketball at some point this season.
I think they said like February 15th. Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Perfect timing. I think that's when they play Indiana at Indiana. If
I think so, actually. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that would be a perfect setting to do it in.
Mm-hmm.
At Assembly Hall, those fans don't really like her for whatever reason. That'd be a perfect place to do it for Caitlin Clark. Yeah. All right. Men's basketball. Man, it's a big basketball weekend for Iowa. Friday and Saturday in Carver is going to be nuts. David Eichel, if you're listening, maybe we'll send this to you, but just go out of town this weekend. Just go out of town. I know it's been a running joke that good things happen to Iowa athletics when you're out of town, but we need it because this men's team needs another win. They got their first win against Rutgers, which was good. They really controlled that game. It didn't feel like it was in doubt, really. I know the score says they won by 9 points. Maybe it didn't close out the game very well, but that was a good win. You can't really drop to 0-4 in conference and expect to do anything. They're 1-3 in conference. and their game on Friday night is against a Nebraska team that's hot right now. And then they go to Minnesota, who's 3-1 in conference, for their next game. Those two are pretty winnable games, like you kind of mentioned earlier. Outside of like Purdue and Wisconsin, maybe Illinois, Big Ten is pretty meh beyond those three. So
100%.
what are you looking forward to in the game against Nebraska?
I want to see the outside shooting light it up. I want to see Peyton Sanford hit 5 threes. Like I want to see some offensive juggernaut offense from freaking Fran McCaffrey's team. That's what I want to see. I want to hang 100 on Nebraska. That's what I want.
That is the type of game that Nebraska likes to play because they like to get up and down and score a lot of points as well. Let's see. Yeah, Peyton Sanford was a huge key. Like he went 5 for 8 from 3 in their last game.
Yep.
Owen Freeman has continued to not play like a freshman. He plays more like a veteran big man. Let me just say this about Owen Freeman. I think he has a chance to be known as probably the best two-way. Those are the key words here. Two-way big man in the Fran McCaffrey era.
Yeah.
Because Garza was a beast offensively, but maybe a little bit susceptible.
No, not even that. Like absolute liability on the defensive side. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was trying to be kind about it.
No, I'm calling a spade here, Andrew.
All right. I'm glad you're here. You balanced me out a little bit. And then you had Woodbury, who was awesome defensively. He was a defensive anchor. That was his thing.
And couldn't dunk the fucking basketball.
Right. And then you've got Owen Freeman, who needs to develop a little bit of a jump shot.
Yeah.
He's got a good back to the basket game. He's got some post moves. He's really good in the pick and roll,
Sure.
too. And he can finish, with a thunderous dunk, or he can finish with touch as well. He's got all that already. He's got all the post stuff down. So I think the key for him is getting a jump shot. And we've already seen the amazing blocks from him in season 1, too. So he's good defensively as well.
Yeah.
He's huge as far as rebounding goes for a team that needs rebounding a lot. Owen Freeman is huge key for this year's team, and just a freshman. So he's going to develop. I think he's going to be known as the best two-way big man by the end of his career.
Well, he's definitely all Big Ten freshman, right, of the year.
Oh yeah,
that's it. Like he might be all Big Ten period. Third team, all honorable mention maybe. Yeah, he's fantastic, man. But his rim protection is something to behold as a freshman. Like that's something you can't teach. I don't think.
Right.
I think that's instinct. I think that is physical tools that he's been God-given to be able to make that happen. He's fantastic. He's got to be top 5 of blocks in the Big Ten, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so Edey is probably first team all-conference as a center.
Sure.
And then I think second team all-conference center comes down to Freeman and Steven Crowell from Wisconsin. Maybe Cliff Omarui from Rutgers, maybe. Those are the 3 guys who are going to battle it out for those all-conference spots at center behind Edey.
Sure.
But Freeman's in that conversation.
Yep.
No doubt. So, love Owen Freeman. We'll talk a little bit more Hawks. We got to take a break right now and thank our sponsors at Revelton and then Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip, and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. The great thing about working from home is working from home. The worst thing is working from home, especially for face-to-face collaborations with customers and coworkers. And let's face it, coffee shop meetings are neither private nor professional. So skip the trip to Starbs and investigate Gravitate Co-working Space. For more than 10 years, Gravitate has provided large and small office and conference spaces perfect for hosting meetings, workshops, or other events, as well as private phone booths for confidential conversations. Plus, all spaces include secure fiber internet, free coffee, and access to a kitchenette. All you need is your laptop. Gravitate does the rest. And renting space at Gravitate is surprisingly affordable. An hour of office space costs about the same as venti caramel macchiatos and breakfast sandwiches for two. Daily and monthly rates are also available with no long-term commitment. Learn more at gravitatecoworking.com. That's gravitatecoworking.com.
All right, and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage has a new loan program for doctors. 0% down payment on loans to $850,000, 3% down payment on loans to 1.25 mil, 5% down payment on loans to 1.5 mil, 10% down on payment on loans to 2 mil, 20% down payment on loans to 3 mil. Program is eligible to a wide range of medical professionals, physicians, doctors, dentists, oral surgeons, pharmacists, chiropractors, vets, doctors completing their fellowships, doctors who have less than 6 months remaining on their residency program. So a good program there from Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. You can give him a call at 515-473-0546. Thank you, as always, Kyle, for sponsoring this show. And we appreciate all of our sponsors, Revelton, Gravitate, and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage.
What I got from that, Andrew, is Kyle's not messing around with the small folk. He's going for him.
No, Kyle's a high roller, apparently.
I like it. I like his style.
Love it. Love it. Man, big one in Iowa City tomorrow night. Do you have a prediction for tomorrow night, Friday night? And then we'll flip the script to Saturday night.
So I believe Iowa covers the spread. I believe it's 2.5 or 3 the last time I checked. I think Iowa knocks off Nebraska coming off the big upset win against Purdue, kind of a letdown on the road. Fred Hoiberg has a hard time beating Iowa, like he just kind of has. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go with my prediction here. I want to see 100 hung on Nebraska, and I am going to get that tomorrow. I think it's going to be Iowa 100, Nebraska 87.
All right, I like it.
Take the over. I think it's 161.
Oh yeah, that's way too low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Iowa's going to score plenty of points, and like you said, maybe a little bit of a letdown spot here for Nebraska after they kind of shellacked Purdue at home in Nebraska. Good for them. Nebraska certainly looks like they have the makings of potentially an NCAA tournament team. So it's not like past years where this is like a bad loss if Iowa loses this game, but it'd be a bad loss because Iowa cannot go to 1-4.
No.
They have to find a way to win this game and their next game against Minnesota. I think they're going to do just that. Like you said, Iowa's probably going to win by 3 or more. I think I'm going to mark this down as like a 6-point win, and it's probably going to look something like 89-83 or something like that. Iowa just finds a way to close it out late, and Sanford and Perkins take care of business with a little bit of Owen Freeman mixed in there. Owen Freeman versus Rink Mast. I didn't mention him in the all-conference stuff, but Rink Mast is a big key as to why Nebraska had a chance against Purdue and beat Purdue so soundly, because they actually had someone to contend with him. So look at that matchup, because I think Freeman versus Mast and then Perkins versus Keisei Tomanyanga, who's the main scorer for Nebraska. And he's a very exciting player to watch, but Perkins is going to have to be the guy to lock down on the perimeter, and Freeman's going to have to lock down in the middle. And if those two things happen, Iowa's going to win this game on Friday night.
Yeah, man. Tony Perkins on the defensive end all season long, right? Like he's been a dog, an absolute dog. And if you get like the 15, 18 points out of him as well, like that's all we need. That's all we need from Tony Perkins, man. Like anything over that is gravy.
Yeah. I'd love to go on a little deep dive, and maybe I should have done this before we got on the air, but Iowa's record when Tony Perkins scores 15 or more, I'm going to bet it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm going to bet it's probably not undefeated, but it's probably pretty close.
It's probably something like 45-5.
Something like that, yeah.
I can't say that. That's way too many games.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Because he probably hasn't scored 15 that many times.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Probably more like 20-5.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
That feels right.
Yeah.
But I'll bring that to you guys at some point. Want to see Brock Harding play a little bit more too. Big one.
His last game, he had a hard time handling the basketball.
That's kind of the up and downs of a freshman point guard. But I think you can kind of tell that he is absolutely the future at point guard. And he and Freeman have kind of this connection because they played together for that year in high school, and they played AAU together. So you can kind of see the connection that Harding and Freeman have, and I really like the 1-2. Not this year, maybe as much as going forward for Iowa. That's going to be the core of the team is Harding and Freeman.
I need about 10, 15 more pounds on Brock Harding.
I think you'll get that. He's a hard worker. You can see where he'll make it.
That's something within his control when he matures, right? Like that's not a knock on him by any means, but I think he needs to get a little bit bigger for Big Ten play. He will be great. He will be an all Big Ten player at some point.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. So let's move to the big one. We've got number 3 Iowa 16-1 hosting the Indiana Hoosiers on a Saturday night, 7:00. Gus Johnson, national TV on Fox. Huge game for women's basketball. It's probably going to be one of the most watched games of the regular season. And yeah, Indiana, Iowa, women's basketball. It's sort of a rivalry brewing here.
Yeah. I mean, the cream of the crop of the Big Ten, right? Like those two are it. And then maybe Maryland. Michigan State gave Iowa a pretty good run too.
That's true.
And their record's not too shabby either. But I don't, honestly, between you and me and all of our fans out here, I know absolutely nothing about Michigan State. I just know that they gave Iowa a pretty good game.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But let's lock in on Indiana. So you mentioned Mackenzie Holmes.
Yeah.
They have Sarah Scalia, Garzon, and Sydney Parrish. All of those are key team members that came back. Chloe Moore McNeil is back as well. They lost Berger. Was her name? I believe it was Grace Berger.
I think so.
Yeah, she was a huge key for them too. So maybe a little bit of a drop off there, but there's a lot of talent on this team, and Chloe Moore McNeil is kind of going to be the one that's going to guard Caitlin Clark most of the time, and then Scalia, Garzon, and Parrish are just going to look to splash threes kind of around, and Moore McNeil to a lesser extent. So Scalia shoots 44.6. Garzon shoots 44%. Parrish shoots 37.5%. Moore McNeil shoots 40.5%. So
this is all from 3?
All from 3.
Oh, Oh,
We're going to have some points on Saturday night.
I think so.
We're going to have some points on Saturday night. But the real key, I think everybody's going to lock in on Holmes. And that's for good reason. She's a great player. But I think more than that, it's going to be defending that 3-point line for Bluter's bunch.
Yeah.
I think a Fulter and Gabby and Kate are going to have to do a really good job around Caitlin Clark of closing down on those shooters. It might almost be a Luca Garza situation. You remember when teams would just kind of let Garza get his and lock down others?
Yeah,
and that's how they would win the game.
Oregon did it in the tournament.
Yeah,
knocked us out.
Michigan did that famously. Garza scored like 44 or something.
Yeah,
against Michigan.
Yeah,
one time, and we lost.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm not saying that Holmes is gonna drop 44 on Iowa, because I think Stolke. I think you let Stolke, Goodman, O'Grady, maybe to a lesser extent, just battle it out with Holmes.
Yeah, I've noticed O'Grady's minutes have gone down significantly, especially here in Big Ten play, and I'm not 100% sure why. If it's more of a health thing or if it's more of a matchup thing, I don't know, Andrew. But
right.
like I've noticed that, like, going into conference play, she's played maybe 5 minutes a game, maybe.
Yeah, not a lot.
No.
Let me look so I can talk intelligently.
Sure.
About this, but I think it's more of just you don't want them to get hot from three, because if they get hot from three, now you've got two problems.
Yeah.
You've got a team that's hot from three and a team that is killing you inside with Holmes, because I really don't think you double, because you don't want to double off those shooters.
Right. Yep.
So I'll be interested to see what kind of defensive schemes Bluter throws out there, because she's known for doing some junk defense stuff. Like, a good example is the South Carolina game last year in the Final Four. Played a lot of triangle and two defense.
Sure.
Where you guard two people man to man, and then you have the other defenders form a triangle zone kind of in the lane, and they were just daring South Carolina's guards to shoot because they knew they weren't great at it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this is kind of different. You're not going to play a zone. You could play a zone to kind of prevent the inside game, but Indiana's got too many shooters for that. So I'm curious what defense we're going to play. Are we going to play man-to-man all night? I don't know.
I'm curious, Andrew. I think it might be the key of the game, actually, is the style of officiating. What's going to be allowed in the paint?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be allowed? Mackenzie Holmes, Hannah Stolke, Sharon Goodman, Addison O'Grady. What are they going to allow down there on the inside? How are they going to get the ball inside out? What is going to be the style of the officiating crew? What are they going to let them get away with? I think is a big key, because, man, every time Iowa is on the ropes, the big women are in trouble, and foul trouble rather.
Mm-hmm. Well, last year in this game where Indiana came to Carver, extremely physical.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot was allowed. I think you have to let a little bit of that go, but obviously not too much.
Right.
I don't know. Well, I think I marked this preseason as a win. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say Caitlin Clark does her thing. She impresses on a grand stage, and we get a 40-point Caitlin Clark game against the Indiana Hoosiers en route to something like a 92-81 win.
It's funny you say that, Andrew, because that's not the score final for me. My preseason prediction was Iowa would drop this game to Indiana, but I'm going to flip the script. My prediction was actually 92-87 Iowa. Caitlin Clark 35-point triple double. Hannah Stolke is going to beat up Mackenzie Holmes. Like, she's too fast, I think.
Right.
She's too athletic, man. When she's athletic at the rim, she cannot be stopped. And Caitlin Clark throwing those dimes into her looks a lot like,
The
darn it,
Sonano.
Sonano. Thank you,
The
Monica
Sonano
Sonano.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking a lot like that. Even more athletic. So I think Hannah Stolke hangs 22. 20 as well, not 22. 20 as well.
Love it.
Yep.
I think not only is she fast, she's developing a little bit of a jump shot too. I won't say quite a 3-point shot, but she's got a little bit of range to her game too.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned Gabby's turned it around lately. I feel a lot better about this game because Gabby's turned it around lately.
100%. Yeah, you gotta have that second pure shooter, man, especially in this game.
But we're gonna need probably Gabby and Kate at their best too offensively. Gonna have to have them or someone else beyond Caitlin Clark splash some threes.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
This is gonna be a fun game. I'm glad that we're getting it on a Saturday night prime time.
That's gonna be cool. Gus Johnson on the
with
phone.
Gus Johnson. Like we're major. This is a major moment for women's college basketball for sure.
Fox prime time, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm curious as to what the number is on television for ratings. Maybe like 4 or 5 million is my guess.
Could be really good because while it is NFL wildcard weekend, the Saturday night NFL game is on Peacock only.
Peacock only. That's true.
And people are gonna not go to Peacock only. They're gonna go to Fox.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, this is gonna. Don't be surprised when this actually trumps the Saturday night NFL game
against the Dolphins and Chiefs. Holy cow!
Yeah, that's crazy to think, but
it might happen.
I mean, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch this game and then flip over to Peacock after this game is over to see the end.
Well, yeah, because I mean, hell, NFL game's 4 hours, so I mean, you'll get the whole damn. You'll only miss like a quarter and a half watching the whole Iowa women
right.
game.
I'll be there for the start of the third quarter. I wonder how Caitlin Clark feels playing in the same time slot as her beloved Chiefs.
I wonder what her cereal tastes like. Did you get your hands on a box of Crunch
Time? No, I think it's only sold in the
Hy-Vees.
Iowa City area Hy-Vees.
Was it only Iowa City area?
I think so.
No, I thought I saw something from Keith Murphy about that. No way.
Maybe I could be wrong. I need to get my hands on a box of cereal, but I know that at one of the Hy-Vees, someone went and bought it out immediately,
and then put it on eBay.
Yeah,
a whole case for $300. I saw that.
Absolutely ridiculous that people are allowed to do that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Should be a limit of like 2 per customer.
I agree, man.
So, yeah. Sad. All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap up here tonight?
No, we're going for a Hawkeye sweep, Andrew. That's what we're doing. That's what it is. I need an offensive coordinator the next time we join forces here on the Hawks Eye View podcast. I need an offensive coordinator. I need 2 Hawkeye dubs. That's what I need.
Yeah, if you're in Iowa this weekend, stay safe. We're getting another 8 to 12 inches of snow.
Is it happening right now, Andrew? What's the weather report there?
It's going to start happening in a couple hours is what my understanding is.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be one of those nights where I have to go out there before I go to bed and then go out there again when I wake up.
So this is where I tell you it's 52 degrees out here in D.C.?
Oh, my gosh. I'm moving to D.C. right now. No, I'm not. But that sounds great.
Yeah.
So stay safe if you're traveling to either of those games, especially the Friday night one. I don't think I would do it unless I'm in the Iowa City area. So, but Saturday, if you can make it, be there. I know Carver's going to be sold out, packed, but we really need Carver sold out and packed for both nights if we can on Friday and Saturday, because it's a huge opportunity for both teams this weekend.
For sure.
And I'm looking forward to it. So we will be back next Thursday to recap everything that happened this weekend, and hopefully, as Drew says, talk about the new offensive coordinator
Yeah, let's go.
and all the changes that they're going to make. So, thank you as always for listening to us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great night and go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Let's go.